The notification landed like a slap. $18,700. Luxury catering. Aspen. I stared at my phone, pulse steady, mind already moving faster than my body. My wallet sat zipped inside my bag. I was 3 states away, still at my desk. No event, no approval, no conversation. Another alert slid in before I could lock the screen. Skylar had booked my mountain house for her retreat. She'd used my card for the deposit because hers was temporarily restricted. The message closed with a neat little reminder not to be small-minded. This was expansion. This was alignment. That was the moment it stopped being about money. The story you are about to hear is a fictional work created by the writing team of the channel Revenge Mosaicum, inspired by real-life situations to convey lessons about family, emotion, and human values. All characters and events are illustrative. I typed once, erased it, then set the phone down. Silence felt safer than words I couldn't take back. Another message arrived. A brochure image this time. Glossy, minimalist. My house. Framed in snow. Renamed the founder's estate. 8 women smiling on the cover like they already belonged there. My chest tightened, not with anger, but recognition. I had seen this pattern before. Help quietly, fund generously, be erased politely. I opened my banking app, flagged the charge, then paused. Canceling it would be loud. Loud would warn her. Instead, I called my assistant and cleared my calendar with a single line about a family emergency. The truth fit, even if it wore a different mask. If this story resonates, stay with me. Listen closely. There are moments like this where silence becomes a choice, and choices become doors. I picked up my keys. The road ahead didn't need rehearsed speeches or righteous fury. It needed timing. It needed patience. And it needed me to stop pretending this was a misunderstanding when every word Skylar sent proved it was a claim. Paul answered on the 3rd ring. His voice carried the calm he used when he had already decided the outcome. He knew why I was calling. He always did. Your sister mentioned you might overreact. The word settled between us, heavy and familiar. I kept my tone even, the charge, the house, the fact that none of this had been discussed. A pause followed, just long enough to signal irritation rather than surprise. She has clients flying in, important women. This retreat matters. I reminded him the house was mine, purchased with my money, maintained on my terms. That kind of thinking is exactly the problem. He pushed back. You've always separated yourself. Skylar builds community. Community. That was the word he reached for when he wanted my resources without my consent. He continued, slower now, like he was guiding a child through disappointment. I already told them the place was secured. If you pull out now, you humiliate the family. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the city lights beyond my office window. You promised something that wasn't yours. A sharp exhale cut through the line. You're strong. You can absorb this. She needs the win. There it was, the family equation, spoken aloud. My stability as currency, her ambition as destiny. I mentioned the card, the money, the assumption. That's just logistics. He dismissed. We'll balance it later. Balance. As if this were a shared account. As if my boundaries were temporary inconveniences. I let the silence stretch this time. If you cancel, don't bother coming around for a while. He added, voice tight with warning. I won't explain this to anyone. The power play landed cleanly. I ended the call without ceremony. The decision had been made, just not the one he thought. Skylar used to call me when things stopped working, not for advice, for fixes. Her first website crashed the night before a launch. I rebuilt it while she slept. Her payment processor froze her account after a spike in refunds. I rerouted the flow and stabilized it before morning. When she wanted to go live, she handed me her phone and waited. Just set it up the way you think is best. Those words had followed me for years. I registered the business pages under my email, connected the accounts, verified the identity. The platform required an owner, someone legally responsible. Skylar preferred the camera to the paperwork. She never argued when I took the back-end role. She never asked what access I held. Later, when her following grew, she joked about not understanding the boring parts. You're good at systems. I'm good at energy. Energy didn't file compliance reports. Systems did, even after the brand took off. Nothing changed. I stayed listed as the page owner. She remained an editor with permission to post, not to control. She trusted the image she had built too much to imagine it could be touched, and she trusted me even less, which made her careless. The keys had always been there. She just never thought I would turn them. The house recognized me the moment I stepped inside. The panel lit up, waiting. No questions. No resistance. I didn't rush. Rushing belonged to people who were afraid of losing something. I opened the security dashboard and began where it mattered. Master access first. My credentials remained untouched, exactly where I had left them. Skylar's guest permissions disappeared with a single confirmation. Next, the door codes. One by one, revoked. The system updated in real time. Each change logged, each decision final. My phone vibrated. A message from Skylar flashed across the screen. We're almost there. Tell the staff to prep the entry. I let it sit unanswered while I moved on. The cameras shifted to silent record. No alerts, no warnings. Just clean footage stored off-site. I toggled the alarms into perimeter-only mode, then paused at the final setting. The heated driveway. I pictured her heels, her confidence. The way she assumed warmth followed wherever she went. The switch slid to off. Another message arrived, sharper this time. Don't start this today. You know how important this is. I set the phone face down. Control didn't need to announce itself. It only needed to be complete. By the time I closed the panel, the house was no longer a stage. It was a boundary. And for the first time in a long while, everything inside it answered to me, alone. The first headlights cut across the cameras just after dusk. 3 SUVs rolled into the drive, tires slipping slightly before correcting. Skylar stepped out first, already mid-performance, arms wide as if the house were responding to her presence alone. 8 women followed, bundled in confidence and expectation. Welcome to my sanctuary, her voice carried, practiced and warm. Leave everything heavy at the door. I watched from the screen as she climbed the steps without slowing. No glance at the keypad, no hesitation. Her fingers moved with muscle memory, tapping in my birthday like it was still a shared secret. The panel flashed red. She laughed, light and dismissive. It always lags in the cold. A second attempt. Slower, firmer. Red again. The smile faltered, just enough for the women behind her to notice. One checked her phone. Another shifted her bag higher on her shoulder. Skylar tried a third time, jabbing the keys harder, as if pressure could force permission. Nothing. Her tone sharpened. That's strange. She turned toward the group, laughter stretched thin. Technology likes to test boundaries. Someone murmured about the weather. Another glanced back at the cars. Skylar's phone came out fast. My name lit up the screen. I let it ring. She kicked the door, once, then again, the sound echoing louder than she intended. Her voice dropped to the curated calm and exposed something raw. This isn't funny. Open it. A few of the women stepped back instinctively. The retreat hadn't started yet, but the illusion already had cracks. And they were watching. Skylar's voice cracked as she paced the porch, phone pressed tight to her ear. She changed the codes. She's humiliating me. Headlights flared at the edge of the drive minutes later. Paul's truck fishtailed before stopping at an angle that blocked the exit. He climbed out without closing the door, engine still running, breath already sharp with anger. What did you do? His glare swept the house, not his daughter. This is family property. Skylar rushed toward him, relief and outrage tangled together. She's locking me out in front of everyone. He waved her aside like an inconvenience and marched up the steps. His fist struck the door once, hard enough to rattle the frame. Open it! Now! The women on the porch drew back. One of them whispered something about calling someone. Another lifted her phone, camera already on. Paul turned, sensing the audience. "There's been a misunderstanding," he announced, voice raised and rehearsed. "This place belongs to us." I watched him reach into the truck bed and pull out the crowbar. The metal caught the porch light as he tested its weight. Skylar froze. "Dad, don't!" He swung. The impact cracked across the glass, loud and final. The safety pane held, but the message landed. "You don't get to lock me out!" His voice thundered, raw now. I paid for this house. A lie, delivered with conviction. The crowd shifted again. Fear replacing curiosity. One woman stepped down from the porch entirely. Paul lifted the crowbar a second time, rage blinding him to everything except the door. That was the moment control slipped from words to force. And force, once chosen, never walked itself back. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't rush. The dashboard opened with the same calm blue interface Skylar once called boring. Her verified wellness page still sat under my ownership. Untouched. Unquestioned. I selected the front door camera. High resolution. Wide angle. The porch filled the preview window. Paul stood mid-swing. Skylar's face had collapsed into something unrecognizable. I tapped connect, then broadcast. The system confirmed the stream in a quiet line of text. Live viewers began to climb almost immediately. I activated the house audio. "Attention, guests." My voice carried evenly across the porch. "Please check your phones. You are currently watching a live broadcast." Every head snapped downward. Screens lit up. Gasps rippled through the group as they recognized the scene from a different angle, framed and undeniable. "This is not a retreat," my voice continued, steady as a contract. "This is unauthorized entry and active property damage. The individual holding a crowbar does not own this home." Skylar spun toward the nearest camera, panic flashing hot and bright. "Turn that off. You're destroying everything." One of the women stepped forward, phone shaking in her hand. "You told us this was your estate." Another voice cut in, sharp with disbelief. "My partner is an attorney. This is criminal." The viewer count surged. Comments began to stack faster than the feed could display. Paul glanced around, finally aware of the audience he hadn't consented to. "This is a private family matter. Family does not override ownership," my voice replied, unchanged. "And intimidation does not become legal because it's familiar?" Skylar raised her hands, blocking her face, the persona unraveling in real time. "Please, you're ruining me." The crowbar dropped from Paul's grip and clanged against the stone. The image she built her power on had turned against her, and it was no longer mine to protect. Red and blue lights washed over the porch, cutting through the shouting and the phones still raised in the air. An officer stepped forward, eyes moving first to the shattered glass, then to the crowbar on the ground. Paul straightened instantly, shoulders back, voice softened into practiced concern. "There's been a misunderstanding. This is a family dispute." He produced a folded document, smoothing it like a winning card. A short-term lease. My name printed beneath his, forged carefully enough to look convincing at a glance. The officer scanned it. Expression neutral. "This looks like a civil matter." I stepped into view for the first time, a folder tucked under my arm. "It isn't." The words landed without force, but they shifted the air. I opened the folder and passed over emails, contracts, timestamps, employment terms, a signed non-disclosure agreement, Proof that Skylar's stay in the house had always been tied to her work, not her bloodline. She was housed here as part of her role, I explained calmly. That role ended tonight. Skylar lurched forward. You can't do that. I met her eyes. I just did. The officer took the documents, reading slower now. Understanding settled in. Paul surged toward me, rage breaking through the mask. His hand reached out, fingers grazing my sleeve before the officer intervened. The movement was enough. Hands were pulled back. Orders were given. The sound of cuffs closed the space between intention and consequence. Skylar began to cry, the performance too late, too exposed. The live stream continued, silent but unblinking. For the first time, none of them spoke for me, and the line I had drawn finally held. The cruisers disappeared down the road without ceremony. The porch felt larger once the noise went with them. One of the women lingered at the edge of the steps, phone still in her hand. Will we get our money back? Yes, I answered evenly. Every dollar. Tonight. Relief crossed her face, followed by something closer to shame. She nodded and followed the others into the cold. I processed the refunds myself, one by one. No statements, no explanations. Accountability didn't need a speech. When the confirmations cleared, I closed the app and ended the stream. Inside, the house settled into a quiet I hadn't felt before. Not tense, not waiting. I walked through the rooms without rushing. A framed photo sat on the console table near the stairs, our family, years ago, smiling for a version of ourselves that no longer existed. I turned it face down and slid it into a drawer, not in anger, but in recognition. Some lessons arrive loudly, others arrive when everything finally stops. I had spent years believing strength meant enduring, that love meant access, that family excused everything it consumed. Tonight stripped those ideas down to their bones. Boundaries weren't punishment, they were clarity. Silence wasn't weakness, it was preparation. At the door, I paused with my hand on the lock. The same door Skylar had kicked, the same door Paul had tried to break. I turned the key once, deliberate, final. If you're listening to this and recognizing pieces of your own life in mine, stay with that feeling. Stories like this aren't about revenge. They're about remembering who holds the keys to your time, your work, your peace. I didn't lock them out to hurt them. I locked them out to come home to myself. And from here on, the door only opens for those who knock with respect.